Hello, Carleen. Welcome to Women's Work.
Hello.
Welcome.
Nice to see you.
How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, good.
Thanks for coming on. There was a moment there, an opening, a divine opening. There was. Could you just sort of explain to the listeners how the birth certificate affects our contracts at the beginning of birth?
Okay, so first of all, if you're born in a ward, you become a ward of state.
Is that a hospital ward?
That they're deliberately set up to traumatize you really from birth. The hospital birthing process of coming in with metal instruments and plastic gloves and no human contact.
Smacking bum and hung upside down.
So much, right? Clamping the cord early, not allowing the blood to flow into the baby. There's so much kind of what I would call birthing magic, black magic rituals that happen at birth.
Could you tell us more about that, please?
More about the black magic rituals of birth? Well, first of all, coming in as a ward of state, you're not coming in as a free sovereign being of choice. You are under a contract kind of from the beginning. When you come through the birthing canal, you should come into phase conjugation, which means that everything kind of opens up at the right moment, and the wave that allows you to come in, you're riding that wave.
The synergy.
The baby is sorry?
The synergy.
The baby is riding that wave, yeah. Mm-hmm. But because women have come out of being in contact with their bodies, they're told to push. And they're told to push in the wrong way, so that when the baby comes out, that the birthing through the canal actually erases the memory. That's part of the reincarnation grid that's overlaying the planet, that's been going on for eons of time. And as you know, part of my role in all of this is to set humanity free, and so that the new little ones that are coming in are birthed in sovereignty. They're birthed free, and that they have as much of their memory intact as possible. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my feel of things and where I'm coming from. Mm-hmm. When the birth certificate obviously is the first major entity attachment that you get when you come into the planet. So along with, I'm sure that a lot of people know about the straw man and the capital letter name, that your birth certificate basically puts you into a dead person. You're not alive at that point. You're not considered as a live being.
Could you explain that?
Sorry?
Could you explain that?
Okay.
So, just for those that may not have heard about anything to do with that.
Sure. Okay, so when you're informed on, if you look at your birth certificate, you are informed as birthing, and it's all due to maritime law, which is the law that Earth is under at the moment through the governmental systems in place. So when you come into birthing, in the same way that a ship docks, you come into a canal. It's all linguistics. So you come through the birthing canal and you come into dock. You are then placed under a birthing certificate. This is your docking pass in order to be able to be birthed here. And what happens with your birth certificate is that you are then assumed dead at that point, and that goes back to the Sesquive Trust of 1666. You're linked into that, which happened during the fire of London. Everybody was assumed dead. at that point and not alive. So the birth certificate is a way of putting you under their authority, because firstly, you're born in a ward, you're made a ward of state. Your parents sign you away, basically. They inform that you have been born and you are registered. Anything that is registered does not belong to the person. They are a keeper of it. So you are then a keeper of your children. You are not their parent. You sign the authority of parenting away to the government, or rather the Vatican, because birth certificates come under Vatican rule. So once you have
a spiritual contract,
it is a spiritual contract.
Right. This is where it gets interesting. I'm very fascinated about these spiritual contracts.
Yeah, well, the Vatican own kind of all of the spiritual contracts. You'll know the difference between a 3D contract and a spiritual contract, because a spiritual contract is written in red, hence the blood contracts. It comes through the bloodline, and anything in red on an official contract, on an like a letter, things like that come through the post, that is actually not seen. It's something that is in a different plane of existence in red. So it's actually not in 3-dimensional planes of existence. Hence the reason for calling it a spiritual contract. And when you get your birth certificate, alongside your birth certificate is created an entity, a company, which attaches to you throughout the whole of your life.
Yeah.
Unless you release it, obviously.
Yeah. And what sorts of things have you witnessed in the past about these birthing contracts?
Birthing contracts there's so many different things. I mean, I've had a lot of people. Time has been a real issue recently. I've noticed that people who have planned their birth and then come in like 2 weeks early, their whole life is off kilter. Because they haven't come in at the time that they had agreed to. They've been forced into incarnation weeks before by induction, being induced. Mum goes into trauma, baby goes into trauma. That's the first step.
Elective C-sections.
Yeah, exactly. You know, all of those things have such massive impact, and we don't realize, you know, unless we do the work, how much of an impact all of those things have. And we're carrying them through our life, you know, until we clear them, obviously.